What is up, Edison duelists? This is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, and I'm coming at you guys today with some more shameless, hype beast, Gigavise content. And now I gotta say, I have been playing Gigavise for over 6 months in Edison Format. I played it for a long time, and in those 6 months, I have never faced as many Gigavise mirror matches as I have faced off in the past couple days. And I've picked out two of these for you that I think are particularly interesting. Sometimes this mirror match is a lot of fun. Sometimes it is really, really unfun where one player just sticks a titanial and there's nothing you can do. But I do think there are some pretty compelling moments in these games. So let's just jump right into this first one here. Our opponent has won the die roll. Looks like they're opening up perfectly strong. They have Gold Sark into Lone Fire, into the Hidden Armory to get a DDR. They have a Gigaplant that they're free to discard. And then from here, they are just going to go ahead with a standard Gigavise combo. Pretty cool play here. They're actually going to summon the Lone Fire off of, or the Dandelion off of Lone Fire, Fertilizer for a Lone Fire Blossom, and then use Lone Fire to tribute the Dandy. That's going to get 2 tokens up. And then this duelist is going to be able to use Gigaplant to bring back another Lone Fire. That Lone Fire is going to tribute a token to get the Copy Plant. And then here the Copy Plant is going to copy Lone Fire's level to make a Bryonac. Bryonac is going to recycle that Miracle Fertilizer. So we'll get another summon out, summoning another Lone Fire Blossom. And this Lone Fire is going to go ahead and get the Titanial. Now, there might be a better board you can make. I think, going into Black Wings, this is pretty risky. But like most of you, you see the Injection Fairy Lily, you see Young Puds, it's me. You're up against Gigavise. Hey, I'm comfortable with that, what can I say? I'll still win, even if you know what I'm playing. That's just all there is to it. So our opponent did end on this very nice line. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negates with Titanial. Definitely going to be a big challenge for us to break it, but it does look like we have a fighting chance here. We have also drawn into some very powerful cards. So we're just going to get right into it. We are going to Foolish Burial for Dandelion to get our 2 tokens. I'm going to use Super Solar Nutrient, and when I'm thinking about how I'm going to take apart this board, the priority needs to be getting rid of Titanial. Titanial has to go. It's got to go, folks. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to go ahead and just summon my own Titanial and crash the Titanial into the other one. This is the best way to handle Titanial a lot of times. It's just super easy, just crash him in. And then now in main phase 2, our opponent has no targeting protection. So we're going to be able to take that Gigaplant that already has its effect activated. And then we are going to be able to activate it to bring back a Lone Fire Blossom from our graveyard. And then here, we're going to tribute the Gigaplant we stole with Lone Fire. That is going to bring it back off of Supervise, but this is something we're totally fine with because my goal here is to make a Black Rose to nuke the field. Just to be a little silly, I do use Copy Plant to copy our opponent's Lone Fire Blossom instead of our own, and now we have a Black Rose, and that is going to be the end of our opponent's board. And now our opponent has no cards, and we are feeling very strong. We are just going to go right ahead and Hidden Armory into a DDR. I'm going to Gold Sark to banish a Miracle Fertilizer to have for later, and we are going to end our turn. I don't want to go ahead and summon the Lone Fire, make a Gigaplant right now, because if our opponent has a Mark of the Rose, then we would just lose the game on the spot. So instead, we're just going to be patient. Our opponent is going to draw a Super Solar Nutrient. No good for them. We're going to draw Supervise, which is, even better. And before we even get to combo, our opponent is going to scoop it up. So now we've both sided, we've put in our lightning vortexes, we've put in our autonomous action units. Let's see how we can play out in game 2. And I do draw the Future Fusion here, which is very nice, but unfortunately I do have a Dandelion already in hand, so I can't use the Upstart right away. I do see a Super Solar Nutrient to go with the Future Fusion, which I think is just fantastic. Always happy to see those together. That's why we're playing the Future Fusion, is just to make our super solar nutrients all that more live. And here is a little bit of proof of concept. It's working perfectly. At least it was until our opponent flips a Solemn Judgment. So that's going to put a stop to our plans. We are going to upstart into a Mark of the Rose. And then we are going to go ahead and set the Dandelion here. I'm thinking that we might be finding ourselves in a situation where we're going to want to tribute summon for the Titanial. So that's the reason I decided to set the Dandy. Anyways, our opponent is going to draw. They'll find a Heavy Storm, and they will go ahead and flip summon the Sangan, and they'll choose to synchro summon here for Catastor. Catastor is always fantastic to have up in the Mirror Force. This is also going to trigger Sangan. Getting them the Lone Fire Blossom. And our opponent will just choose to clear the token. This could be a Morphing Jar number 2. Maybe they're playing around that. But more than likely, you just want to clear the guaranteed thing. We're going to draw a Foolish Burial here, which is definitely not the best. And I am actually just going to decide to pass. I'm thinking that we can just survive one more turn. It might have been correct here to just go ahead and Mark of the Rose now. Take the Catastor, get that off the field, tribute for the Titanial. But hindsight is 2020. Anyways, our opponent is going to go ahead and Lone Fire Blossom into a Titanial of their own. Now we don't have the option to Mark of the Rose, which is definitely a big problem. And our opponent is going to be the one who's going to get to stick Titanial and 2 tokens. So this is not so good for us, folks. Our opponent is going to attack into our Dandelion. Dandy is going to get us our 2 tokens, and Titanial is going to kill one of them. Now on our turn, Future Fusion is going to come out and summon the Gaia, but Gaia does have a mandatory targeting effect, so Titanial is just going to clean that up really well. We're going to set a Threatening Roar, and now we are just going to try and wait our opponent out. Bad news for us though, folks. Our opponent does have that Miracle Fertilizer and Hidden Armory combo, which is a devastating way to pull ahead in this matchup. That is just combo, but our opponent actually decides to not do anything else, giving us at least another turn, and we find another Threatening Roar. So here our opponent is going to draw into a Dandelion, and now they are going to go ahead and commit that Miracle Fertilizer, summoning the Lone Fire Blossom, summoning a second Lone Fire into the Gigaplant. They'll give that Gigaplant a Supervise, bring out Nettles here, and now they are going to be making Mistworm, which is just going to clear our board. Of course, we will chain the Threatening Roar, so we are going to get at least one more turn to survive. Let's see if we can pull out a victory here. Lone Fire Blossom is going to help us here, folks. So we are going to go ahead and start things off. We'll summon the Lone Fire, use its effect to summon a second Lone Fire, cycle through that into Gigaplant. And then here we are going to Mark of the Rose to waste one of the Titanial negates, and then now we're going to use Supervise, wasting the other one. So we're still definitely behind, but at least we did clear out the biggest problems. Now a well-timed DDR could get us back into the game no problem. Unfortunately, speaking of well-timed DDRs, our opponent has one of their own. They're going to Mark of the Rose our Gigaplant, and that is going to be for us. So let us see if we can take this down in game 3. We are going to get to go first, which is always a big advantage. And seeing the trap dust shoot, that is going to make us really, really happy. Not the greatest hand in the world. I can't even Lone Fire to just stick a Titanial. So instead, I'm just going to set all of my traps. And I am going to go ahead and Lone Fire here right for the Gigaplant. Between Raigeki Break, Dust Shoot, and Threatening Roar, I'm confident I can get the Gigaplant to stick. And I really need it to stick, otherwise I'm just going to get outpaced and blown out. So high risk, high reward kind of play here. Our opponent is going to begin their turn. They have a hand full of spells, many such cases, to be honest, folks, but at least now I've seen everything that they have, minus this card that they're drawing off of the upstart. So we can feel a little safe, a little confident that we might be able to pull something out here. Our opponent is going to commit the DDR, and we are going to go ahead and hit that with a Raigeki Break. Fantastic way to shut that down. Now our opponent is going to set that Book of Moon. We know it's a Book of Moon. And then here we have a DD Crow, which is just a fantastic draw. Just further helping us shut down our opponent. We are going to summon out the Titanial. I do summon it in defense just in case they drew into a Mirror Force. I should have known that that was the Gigaplant that they discarded, so I could have done this in attack. But, folks, I'm not going to apologize for an abundance of caution. We'll pass it back to our opponent, who does draw a Sangan. They are going to go ahead and try and wall up with some dandy tokens, and they are going to set the Sangan as well. Here we are going to draw a Supervise, which is just about as good as it can get, folks. We're going to Gigaplant into another Lone Fire into Gigaplant. Here I have the Supervise, and then my thinking here is that I am going to get a Nettles and then normal summon that DD Crow to make a Mist Worm. And that is going to be it for us. Our opponent sees the writing on the wall and gives us the game. So one match down. We definitely did misplay with this Titanial in defense. Fortunately, it didn't matter. We had control of that game with our powerful traps. So let us see how we fare against another opponent. Here we have this game already in progress against user Crazy Dave, who has just opened Set Torrential Pass. And we are going to go ahead and start off with an Upstart Goblin into, well, not much, and then we will hit an Armory for a Supervise, and then hit an Armory for a Mark of the Rose. So along with the Foolish Burial, we kind of have a nice one of each setup, and we are going to set the Raigeki Break and the Threatening Roar. At this time, we are just waiting for our opponent to put a monster on the field, and then we can win the game. Have a few more turns of back and forth. Our opponent has gone up to 6 sets, and 3 sets and 6 cards in hand. Still no combo to speak of. Looking for perhaps a Dandelion to get some tokens, a Tuner, I mean, of course, just a Lone Fire Blossom, anything like that. And then we are going to be the first ones to find the Lone Fire Blossom. And I'm going to confidently Heavy Storm into these 3 back row. I don't think he's on Starlight Road or anything like that. I think he was just setting 3 because he saw that I had committed a lot of sets to the board. But we are going to go ahead and have our Lone Fire combo, and we are going to be very insulated by this Threatening Roar. And I do feel like I have follow-up as well with Mark of the Rose and DDR. So this is just a pretty straightforward line here. We are going to Gigaplant for Lone Fire for Copy Plant. Unfortunately, we don't have the super clean line into game here because we are giving our opponents 1,000 extra life points with Upstart, but that's just fine. We're going to hit the Power Tool Dragon. I think this might even be the first Power Tool Dragon that we've seen. Didn't see any last match. Is that correct, folks? But of course, 66% is going to round up to 100%, and we are going to find that other Supervise. And then we are just going to Lone Fire Blossom straight into a Titanial. If our opponent wasn't at 9,000, we could distribute the Gigaplant instead, and then we would have game on board. But instead, we are going to knock our opponent down very low to just 1,500 life points, set that Threatening Roar, and say, hey, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Our opponent draws Titanial, and that is not going to allow them to come at us, so we are going to go into game number 2. Always exciting in these matchups. Will we draw an easy combo? Will neither of us draw a combo? I kind of like those games, like that last one where both players are just kind of both a little bricked, hunting for their combo. I think that's that always gets me excited. You know, it really gets the adrenaline pumping. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a really, really exciting game. I think sometimes, you know, if you're new, maybe you just see it as a combo fest. Maybe you feel like you can't compete. But once you get your footing in this game, it really just, it feels so good. Here our opponent is going to set a Solemn Judgment, and they are poised very well. This is the fact that they banished the Miracle Fertilizer. That tells me that they probably already have combo, and we do see that they have a Trunade as well. So we're definitely in trouble. I'm feeling the pressure, like, okay, I got to make something now. We do fire the Upstart, drawing into a Lone Fire, and then we're just going to have to hit an Armory for our Supervise, and then Gold Sark. I'm thinking Lightning Vortex is what we want. I am expecting our opponent to put up a Titanial, so we're going to need to find a way to break that. And then I am just hoping to stall and survive with that Book of Moon. Our opponent is going to clearly have other ideas. They don't even need to use that Trunade because they do have the Solemn Judgment down. And our opponent is going to go ahead and make a Gigaplant, give that Gigaplant a Supervise. We think we are so cool with the Book of Moon, but the thing is, our opponent is just cooler with that Solemn Judgment. So Half their life points gone is a small price to pay to be able to continue the combo. And then here they are going to push in for game with the Trunade to recycle the Supervise, put it on the second Gigaplant, and then bring out the Lone Fire Blossom. Tribute off the Lone Fire for a Copy Plant. Copy Plant is going to Synchro Summon for Power Tool Dragon. Say it with me, folks, 66% is going to round up to 100%. And our opponent is going to hit the Supervise. That is going to be it for us. You know, we probably had game there if our opponent hit the Mark of the Rose, but of course they didn't. 66% always does round up to 100%. So here we go for game number 3. Can we pull it out? We do get to go first, which is always a big advantage, but unfortunately we are not drawing any kind of full combo here. Threatening Roar and Lightning Vortex, that's an okay setup to find a crackback perhaps. And here I'm going to actually choose to Gold Sark for the Hidden Armory. I'm thinking that, okay, that can get me into AAU. That could be relevant. I'm also thinking that it's going to go well with the Fertilizer. And I just might be able to pull it off without Lone Fire directly. Definitely a questionable choice, but I think it's a little defensible too. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What would you have used Gold Sark for there? Would you have just done the standard Lone Fire? I'm not so sure. I think also this is threatening our opponent. It's kind of telling him with a little misdirection, oh, I do have Lone Fire in my hand. So maybe they're going to play a little more cautiously if they don't have combo. And here we see that our opponent does not, in fact, have combo. They're just setting a Dandelion and a couple traps. We're going to draw into a Dandelion of our own. That's going to pair very nicely with the Lightning Vortex. And then would you look at that, we have found our way into Super Solar Nutrient, folks. So now we have everything we need to combo off. It is just a matter of finding a good time. I also kind of want to find some answers for these back row. I don't want to just play directly into them. I think especially games 2-3, you can't just assume they're nothing. And I also need a way to trigger the Dandelion, so I'm kind of waiting for my opponent to have a face-up monster. So I'm really hoping here that our opponent does just combo, and then we stop the combo from killing us with Threatening Roar, crack back with Lightning Vortex, and then win the game. Pretty straightforward stuff, folks. We do draw into a Supervise, which is fantastic. We are going to set the Mark of the Rose just for hand size. I don't want to lose that card. If I don't have to, if it gets Heavy Stormed, well, that's not good, but discarding it, then we definitely lose it. Also, it gives our opponent free information. This could represent a bluff. Lots of good options here. Our opponent is going to Trunade for, or Sark for the Trunade, rather. And we are going to draw into a Book of Moon, which we are also going to set. Not going to be super helpful against Trunade, but what can you do? Here, our opponent's going to draw into Copy Plant and set that as well. And now it is time for us to draw our DD Crow. And here I am deciding, okay, I've just got to set the Dandelion. I don't want to discard any of these cards for hand size. I think with the DD Crow, I can live even through the Trunade. So I'm hoping to just set the Dandelion. We'll get the tokens off. Maybe even flip Threatening Roar. After tokens have already been summoned, we'll see what we can do here. So our opponent is going to draw. They are getting the Trunade to hand, and so now I'm sure that this is going to be their time to combo. We are going to chain the Threatening Roar to their Trunade, so at least we're not going to die this turn. We do get one more turn to fight back, and let's see what kind of board our opponent can put together. Those 2 Super Solar Nutrients in hands, that is going to be crazy, crazy good, especially because he can just flip up the Copy Plant and go right into a Bryonac. So now we are going to get our 2 tokens, and our opponent is going to be able to use both of those Super Solar Nutrients, which is just really bad for us. I'm not gonna front here. This is not great. Our opponent will clear our Dandelion with the Bryo, and we are going to use the Crow on the Fertilizer here. I'm hoping that we can just keep them off of DDR and keep them off Titanial, and then we're going to have a very easy pathway to clear the board and win. Unfortunately for us, our opponent is going to find their way into a Power Tool Dragon. And with that Power Tool Dragon, they are going to be able to get themselves a DDR. It was, you know, it's a 2/3 chance. I should have known it's going to round up to 100%. What can you do? And then our opponent is also going to make a Stardust Dragon with the Bryonac, so they don't want us stealing the Bryonac and then using that to clear the board. Can't have that. So he makes the Stardust. That's going to insulate him against Lightning Vortex. DDR is going to bring out the Titanial, and then man, oh man, do we have a problem to deal with. Two real pieces of back row interaction, a Stardust and a Titanial. But the silver lining, if we can clear it, then we are probably going to be in the driver's seat to win the game. Our opponent's going to be out of resources. So let me see what we do here. We'll actually go ahead and make this a little pop quiz. Pause the video. This is your opponent's board. You know that they have two sets, which are probably real sets. We have a Hidden Armory, a Dandelion, a Lightning Vortex, a Mark of the Rose, a Supervise, a SSN, a Book of Moon of our own, a Miracle Fertilizer, and a DDR to deal with our opponent's Titanial, Stardust, Lone Fire, Gigaplant, Power Tool, and two pieces of interaction. So let me know what you guys would do in the comments, and I'll show you here what I do. First, we're going to Book of Moon to try and set the Stardust. I know we're definitely just going to have to waste these Titanial activations, and we do have enough cards that we can afford to just kind of chip away at it. If our opponent doesn't use Titanial there, then we could just Lightning Vortex and win. So that is going to be great for us. Here, we're again going to try and get the Stardust off the field with Mark of the Rose. Our opponent isn't going to allow that either. And then we are going to Hidden Armory for Mark of the Rose. And we are now going to DDR to discard the Dandelion. That's going to get another plant in graveyard, and this will also get our Gigaplant onto the field, as well as giving us 2 tokens for SSN. Our opponent is going to think, but ultimately is going to use Bottomless Trap Hole to clear the Gigaplant away. That's fine with us. That's another piece of interaction down, and now we are going to get the Titanial off the board once and for all with the Mark of the Rose. So now the game state has really been simplified down. We just have to contest with a Book of Moon. And so here we are just going to go ahead and Super Solar for Lone Fire, and then Lone Fire is going to go ahead and get us Gigaplant, and now Gigaplant we will equip with the Supervise. Unfortunately, our opponent does have a Book of Moon here, which is it's just not good. If we had made a Titanial first and then Miracle Fertilizer into Lone Fire into Gigaplant for Supervise, we would have been able to play through the Book of Moon. But we did make that mistake. We are still going to be able to continue play here, though. We are going to be able to Lone Fire, use Lone Fire's effect to get us to Titanial, and then Titanial will at least clear the Power Tool Dragon. So definitely not perfect. If we had just ordered that a little bit differently, we would have been able to fully clear the board. We'd have an answer for the Book of Moon. But I did make that mistake, so feel free to flame me in the comments. Let me know that I'm just not the greatest. We're always trying to improve. And the silver lining here, you know, Titanial's up. I have fuel for Titanial. We're probably going to lose this Gigaplant, but we have 10,000 life points. This is definitely a not a losing position until our opponent top decks AAU. Best possible top deck. I don't think there's anything that could be any better for them. This is going to represent a full clear. They're going to be able to steal our Lone Fire right into another Lone Fire into Gigaplant, and then Gigaplant is going to be able to summon back. What do they go for here? Couple options. They could make the Brute Drago. They could just make a Titanial and Crash. Probably also a Colossal Fighter. Definitely don't want to leave the Gigaplant up, so Titanial Crash is not going to be the answer. They are going to go ahead and do the Colossal Fighter. I think that's correct. That is going to completely clear our board. And even though we have the Lightning Vortex, that Stardust Dragon did manage to survive all of our efforts. We're going to draw an Upstart into another Upstart, really dragging out the suspense. We do find a Supervise. If we find a Fertilizer, that could be really, really good. Our opponent finds a Supervise of their own, and then they are going to swing in for just over half of our life points. It all comes down to this. What do we draw, folks? We draw a Heavy Storm. So that is not going to be enough. Definitely unfortunate. Big lesson here to learn, folks. You know, make a Titanial first if you can. Super greedy of me to go directly into the Gigaplant. That was a misplay that did cost me the game. So Let me know in the comments if there was any other misplays you spotted. Let me know in the comments if there's any decks or matchups you would like to see me face off against. And other than that, this is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, wishing you guys a great week, a happy Tuesday, and I'll see you tomorrow with more shameless, hypebeast GIGAVISE content. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. All right, thanks guys.